Céline Evans.
And I'm Chris Evans.
And welcome to Georgia Living Podcast. It is Tuesday, March.
It is 4th.
4th already.
Yeah.
And yesterday we had what's called asynchronous learning day in school. So we're in Cobb County schools. And what is asynchronous day, Chris?
This is, if you grew up in Cobb County, this is what used to be the teacher work days. So we used to have a teacher work day, kids got off of school, great. Now it's asynchronous learning day, meaning the kids are learning at the same time that the teachers are working. They're just not together because they send them home. So basically the kids come home with a packet of work and we have to deal with them all day while working our normal jobs.
Well, I think the premise is to teach them or self-teach at home.
Yeah.
It sounds great on paper. It really does. And I understand that teachers need work days. I totally do. But we work too. Right?
It's a way that they can count the teacher work day as still a learning day so they don't have to add on an extra day to the school calendar, I believe.
I get it.
Yeah.
But
it's hard.
Ugh.
Well, our kids got to learn stuff other than like normal work packet stuff yesterday. I mean,
sure, they did arithmetic. They did, reading and writing. I mean, Claire did some, spelling stuff, but
they got to learn who Creflo Dollar is.
So we went to close to the airport to put a lockbox on one of the properties that we're selling yesterday. And they got to see all the airplanes. They learned that Atlanta Airport is Hartsfield-Jackson is one of the busiest airports, the busiest airport in the world. And they definitely saw it because they saw so many planes flying in and out versus Anchorage. They see maybe one or two every now and then. This was, a highway.
A lot more traffic.
And it was the middle of the day, too. So they learned how to put on a lockbox. They learned how to put up a sign. And they learned, because this property is right by one of the local, legends with public broadcasting. One of those channels that are on, like
PBS.
Like on a Sunday after hours, the local people. So, one of the mega churches, we had never found it before, and then we drove right by and we're like, oh, that's the World Changing Ministries, I think.
I don't know.
I don't remember exactly.
I just remember seeing his name on the side of a truck that was down there for
we put the two and two together, so now we know.
Donations. Yeah. So the kids got to learn that. They got to learn a little bit about East Point and the city of East Point, and they got to see us put a lock on a lockbox up on a property.
So my mom used to live there with my dad. Early 70s. This was, I think, when they still had weight limits for, airline host, what are they called now? Flight attendants?
Mm-hmm.
They were called stewardesses in her time. And so very, very different 50 years ago. And then they moved to Smyrna and then Marietta. So, former home of my parents.
Yep. So the kids had a great time. They got to play their switches and be on their phones and get told to shut up whenever a work call came in. We're all in the car. But that's about it. And today we got Rob Doerr here with eHome Loan Advisors. Rob, how you doing?
Hey, everybody. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Great. Are you dealing with asynchronous day?
I am indeed dealing with that. Except I'm in Fulton County, and it seems like we have 4-day weekends all the time. So as nice as it is, it's hard to get any work done. And
it is
keep them
not just
entertained.
Cobb. It is not just Cobb.
No, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, Rob, we appreciate you taking the time out of your asynchronous day to join us this morning.
More than happy to. I promise.
Hey, we've seen a lot of stuff happening in Wall Street recently. We've got a lot of happening with today being tariff day, so everything's volatile, and we're seeing that the bond rates are coming down. What's happening on the mortgage side of things?
I will say, I follow rates all day, every day, and I've seen more positive rate movement in the past 3 weeks than I've seen in a long, 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 long time.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Some days they're up a little, down a little. There was a lot of weeks prior to a few weeks ago when rates were just kind of up every day. And when I say up, it's not like by a huge amount, but incrementally, it builds on each other. So I've seen probably out of the last 3 weeks, I've probably only seen one day when there was like a negative rate effect. So I'm hoping that continues and rates continue to get in a better place. Right now, we're looking at around 6.25 on a 30-year fix, which is great compared to how they've been in the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic.
We'd love to see it continue down to where we see a 5 in front of that,
So if we're looking at a 6.25, what's a buy down getting us right now?
Well, if you still wanted to do a buy down, you could do a 2-1 buy down that would get you down in the 4% range, so 4.25
for 2 years.
Or one, yeah. So yeah, and then a 1-year buy down would get you down in 5.25.
Can you explain that in layman's terms for people who may not know what a buy down is?
Yeah, of course. So when you're negotiating on a contract, you could negotiate with the seller to contribute towards buying the rate down. It's called a rate buy down. There's either a 1-year buy down or a 2-1 buy down would be a 2-year buy down. And what that is, let's say today's rate is 6.25. If the seller would contribute whatever there's a calculation we come up with there's a dollar cost for how much it would cost to buy that particular loan rate down on that particular loan scenario down 2 points. And then the seller would contribute that money. And then, so instead of getting 6.25 for the first year, you would get 4.25 for the first year.
Mm-hmm.
So a huge difference in the payment. And then the second year, it would graduate to 5.25. And then from year 3 on, it would go to 6.25 from there on out for the rest of the mortgage.
Got it. So that really comes in handy for people who are looking to buy, but say, none of the options look appealing. They can work out something with the seller if the seller's willing and actually get that rate that they wanted to and still move on from the house
Absolutely.
that they need to.
I've had clients do that before, that it really worked out with their lifestyle at where it was because they were just starting a family. So she wasn't working. And while it was just the one income household, he figured, within 2 years, she's probably going to be bringing income back. So they did a rate buy down. And then within that 2 years, they used that to kind of save some money. And then the rate went up as they predicted their income would go up. It ended up working out well for them. We did stay in touch over time, but that can be used in a variety of situations. But are we still doing permanent buy downs as well? Like if I came to you, Rob, and I was like, hey, I don't like 6.25. What's it going to take me to get into the 5s?
Yes, and so here's the way that works. So yeah, you're always welcome to spend additional money to buy the rate down to a lower interest rate. However, in this market that we're in, I haven't been recommending that because as rates continue to go downward, if you spend an additional $5,000 to buy the rate down, and sure, that's going to be great. It's going to save you some money on your monthly payment. But if you refinance in 6 months, then that money that you spent to buy the rate down just kind of disappears, So I think it's better to just kind of go with the middle of the road rate, not spending too much to buy it down, just knowing that, you should be able to refinance in the next 6 to 12 months, hopefully.
Yeah. So, it is still betting in a sense, but safely doing it.
It is.
As safely
it's
as
more
you
of a
can.
Conservative, hey, we're going to take a little bit of speculation on the direction of where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
correct.
Great words of wisdom.
And in a normal market, and when I say normal market, I mean more like several years ago, it would make more sense because over time you're going to recoup that money, by buying the rate down. But just since rates are a little higher than they were before, and they're starting to, we're anticipating them to come down, I just don't think it's money that's well spent to buy it down right now.
Sorry,
No.
I was about to sneeze.
Words of wisdom. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always great to have you on the show. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
If anybody is interested in learning what they can qualify for, if they're thinking about buying this year, how can they get in touch with you?
My cell phone number is always the best way, 404-771-0341, or my email address, which is rdoerr@ehla.com.
Great. Thank you, Rob. And Rob's information is on our website, selectrealty.com, with 2 L's. There's only one with 2 L's. Thank you so much for joining us, Rob. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
All right, have a great day. All right, bye.
I'm so glad I didn't sneeze right when he was on.
I am too.
Sorry. Good thing. No, there's this one hair that keeps on tickling my nose, so, oh my goodness.
So that's really good news that we have coming in on the real estate mortgage front. I'm glad to hear that our rates are coming down 6.25. This is kind of where everybody started clamoring and coming back in last October. It was down around the low sixes.
Yeah.
So that's a good indicator that we may have some movement happening this spring.
I've seen some really nice properties come on the market too.
Yeah, we're starting to see some listings coming in. We'll get to that in our real estate section because we got some updates on Simply List. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening in the market later on in the show.
Sure. Let's talk about Mardi Gras today.
It is. It's Mardi Gras. Happy Shrove Tuesday, everybody.
So, okay, Shrove Tuesday. You might not have heard that because in the U.S. we don't call it that. I think that's more of a European thing. We say Mardi Gras here because of the French influence with Louisiana, our Mobile parades as well. You know how it's a huge deal in Louisiana and Mobile. Yeah. However, they've actually had some weather problems this year, and it's been a little gusty, so I've heard. So they've had to reschedule a lot of the parades. I'm not so, in tune with that because we live in Georgia, but, we still, they're our neighbor state, right? So we still pay attention to that. But the other name for Mardi Gras is Shrove Tuesday, which is... what day?
Pancake Day.
Pancake Day. I think we started celebrating a little bit early, though, because we bought pancakes from IHOP on Johnson Ferry Road. And I don't think I knew how much I missed commercially made pancakes.
Oh, my God, they were so good.
Yeah, so much butter and everything like that,
I was so hungry.
So the whole premise in eating pancakes, though, if you're wondering why, is because it is the day before you go into 40 days of Lent for Christians. And traditionally, sugar was expensive, flour was expensive because you had to, take it to the mill and grind it. So bread wasn't as accessible as it is today. You couldn't just Uber Eats the pancakes.
Like I did Sunday. That was so good.
Yeah. I think you door dashed that.
I did. I dashed it.
You dashed it. So it is... the idea of it is to get all of the stuff out of your larder or pantry and use up the stuff that you can't eat during the next 40 days. And so, same thing, Fat Tuesday, you're eating all the butter, you're eating all the sugar that you have left, anything that would go bad. Now,
it's to avoid temptation, right? If you eat it all up, it's not going to be there for the next 40 days. So
there is some logic
your eggs,
in that.
milk, butter, eat it all up before Lent begins.
But people can't afford the eggs right now. Just kidding.
I mean, it is
They are expensive, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
they
avian
are.
flu is causing a lot of issues.
So, Georgia, really, we don't have a lot of celebrations along Mardi Gras and Shrove Tuesday, but we can decorate at least. So I have decorated our house since the end of Valentine's Day. Yeah. And we've been in a little bit of a festive mood because we have, crowns around the house that are gold and purple and green and yeah.
Ribbons and...
yeah, so the whole thing costs maybe $5 from the dollar store just because, I wanted to be creative and use what is in our community, right? Which is right down the street, so... I was like, let's see what we can do with a tablecloth and some streamers or some ribbon. It's not bad.
No, I mean, we'll have to put some photos up along with the post. But yeah, there's your craft ability is beyond me. You could take this foil tablecloth and you made like 6 puffballs out of it, and they're like all around the house.
Well, thanks. Do you have anything about Mardi Gras that you like? I mean, you've never been to a parade, right?
No. We were supposed to go one year. It ended up that it didn't work out with the person who was inviting us.
Oh, yeah.
And we've just never been because, we were recession kids, so we graduated in the recession, and then, we started having kids, so a lot of that, we haven't done the New Orleans scene. But that is something that is on the bucket list. We'll have to plan a trip out there and leave the kids at Grandma, Grandpa's for a little bit. So,
with Fat Tuesday and Shrove Tuesday, Lent, you have fish on Fridays. And so a lot of the local restaurants around here do start offering fish plates, fish dishes. And so one of the ones that really stands out to me is that I start noticing it when fast food restaurants start advertising.
Yeah, they'll have
their
the fish
commercials.
sandwich.
Yeah, and then my brain puts the two and two together, thinking, oh yeah, Lent is coming up. It's fish weeks, right?
Oh yeah. So what is your favorite place for like grabbing lunch with fish?
Lunch?
Yeah, or just going out to eat. Fish during Lent.
Ooh, two different. Okay, if it's lunch, I really like Seed. Merchants Walk Exchange. I think that's the shopping center. If not, I'll correct it.
It's in Merchants Walk.
It's in Merchants Walk. So I've been here so long to where Merchants Walk, when it was in the 90s or late 2000s, it was really vacant. And the only really active thing in that area was the movie theater, the Merchants Walk movie theater. I don't know the name of it. I think it's Cinemas. We'll put that in the show notes as well. But they have since revitalized the whole area. And they've got really great tenants there that are anchor tenants. And in the commercial space... Yeah,
there's a Marlowe's, there's a Whole Foods, there's a beauty shop.
Yeah. So one of my favorites is Seed. And they open at, I think, 11 o'clock in the morning. Or
I think 11:30 is their earliest, yeah.
Okay. So they open for lunch, and they have the spicy fish sandwich there.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, it's amazing. It's on ciabatta bread oh, wow. The sauce is great, too.
The spicy fish sandwich is really good. They also have fish tacos, which come in a distant second for me. Like, I love that spicy fish sandwich. It's so good.
And the fries. Fresh cut fries. Wow. You can even have Parmesan and truffle oil on top of them, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
But you don't have to get the fries. I mean, they got healthier options as well.
Yeah. And then there's also the local churches around here that do Fish Fridays.
Yes, and I got to block out some time for some volunteer work this Lent because over at St. Anne, where we go, our Knights of Columbus there will be putting on their fish dinners, and it's open to the whole community, so anybody who wants to come out can. And the guys are going to be out there frying fish and serving food, and we've had one of our members is like an executive chef at a local restaurant, so he's always helped out to like help run the back kitchen for us.
Yes, chef.
And yeah, exactly. And it's just a great time to get out, have a couple of beers, because we're Catholic, we can drink beer at church. Know your audience, right? And so just they'll have different plate sizes, so they have for kids, they have for adults. You can go there, and a couple of times they usually bring out like an Irish dancer. I think this year they've got an Irish tenor coming from Ireland to sing. They're doing a concert.
Cahill.
Yeah, so they do a lot of stuff to celebrate kind of Lent into St. Patrick's Day, which is my favorite day of the year. In case anybody was wondering if I'm Irish or not from. You're not watching me on YouTube. I am full-blown red beard ginger.
Not me.
No, definitely not. But Irish citizenship comes with it, and so that's something that's important to our family. Let's see. So we got the Lenten fish dinners coming up, and lots of. I'm a big fan of during Lent to give back. Right, you can give up a lot of stuff, but I like to give my time. So hopefully doing some volunteer work in the community, either with doing some dinner serving, or maybe we'll do some stuff with Kiwanis. But we're going to stay involved in the community, especially throughout the Lenten season. And then, Céline, you got a great picture of me this weekend standing up in church, speaking of it, because I'm involved in helping to start a new ministry there, which is our faith and finance ministry. And we're going to help people who may feel overwhelmed in dealing with a lot of finance or estate planning or kind of, life the boring part of life. So we'll start that to give support.
What needs have you found? Because I haven't actually talked to you about this. I know that you started, with a couple of people saying that there is a need in our community. What is your focus on this? Like, what do you think the shortcomings are? Is it not taught? What's going on?
Well, I think how children. Everybody says kids need financial education in high school. Well, they don't get that, and a lot of times people don't get it throughout their life because maybe one spouse takes care of everything, or they're just completely lost. And life happens, and sometimes people lose a spouse. We dealt with that, with mom. Dad passed; he took care of everything, and now, jokingly, I told mom about the ministry, and she goes, "Oh, I don't need that. I have you."
But you also have a degree from UGA in finance.
But a lot of people don't have these resources. Yes. So what we're doing, and I'm not the point person on this, Karen Vining, who's a financial advisor, she's been a member of our church for a long time. She is starting it. And the moment I heard she's starting it, I just said, I don't need to know anything more. I'm helping, because this is something I've always wanted to do. In 2009, when I was starting my career in finance, I was working as a volunteer with a Career Quest, which helped people, find jobs. It was the recession. And since then, I've wanted to help people on financial education, to the point where I've even I taught Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University for a while. Not a fan of his overall philosophy on finance and investments. I think that there is good debt, and it's just about making sure that the house is a blessing, not a burden. So
I think that our generation might be a little bit different than other generations, because we were recession young adults. We started off life during that, and then that actually is addressed in our book here.
Yeah, it is.
The story of how we left our homes to go to college, and then found ourselves young homeowners and trying to figure this all out by trial and error. And I think a lot of people misunderstand finance and wanting to talk about money as bad because it's has a greedy stigma to it. But really, we approach it because we don't want to go back to not having heat for 2 winters in a row. We don't want to go back to spending $50 for the two of us for 2 weeks of groceries. That's stuff that we have experienced because we've been there literally from the ground up, which is our book. And so we understand that this fundamental understanding of money and how it works, and even through real estate, which is how we did it, should be taught, although it's not. And that's where your ministry tries to fill in the gap.
Yeah, and so we've got a survey we're going to be sending out to everybody, which is basically asking, what areas do you feel like you need help in? And we're going to tailor it to whoever needs to come to these meetings. So the topics will vary. It's going to be based off of what people need, not what we want to teach. And it's a very we're going to do this in a way where it's a supportive environment. None of us are there for business. As a matter of fact, because we've got a few financial advisors that are going to be doing this. I'm a former financial advisor and a real estate broker, and one of them is a compliance officer so he's certified with FINRA as a compliance officer. So they're going to be making sure that, look, we're not giving specific advice. That's not what this is. We're going to be working to give general information so that you understand how the process works. Mm-hmm. And then, if you need additional resources, we'll work with you to make sure that you have those. But this is more like, so our first topic is the financial impact of losing a loved one, right? Oh. It doesn't have to be your spouse, right? We've lost plenty of loved ones, and there's lots of financial impact from your grandfather to my father.
Sure.
You got to go through that estate process, and it's not easy. I know that it was a big burden on your mother and her sisters. It was a big burden on mom when that happened. it was huge, and it was heartbreaking for a lot of the time to have to find things, and you're dealing with grief at the same time. So we're going to talk about the different aspects, the things that you need to pay attention to, either to preliminarily plan for when they happen, or they've already happened, and now what? What do you have to do?
That's just your first topic, right? I mean,
that's the first one. And the reason why that's the first one is because it's broad. It affects everybody. There's lots of different aspects that we can talk about. And we're going to give a brief overview, but then we're going to open it up and make a lot of Q&A. So we're hoping that this is going to be a great thing for the community.
So things like understanding interest rates for home loans and the fact that it's really more tied to the 10-year.
What is a reverse mortgage? Does that make sense for you in your estate planning? How do you avoid scams, and how do you determine, is this a legitimate email coming from my bank? I mean, I'm sure we're going to answer a lot of questions, but there
in some new stuff like AI and deep fakes and
the best way I can put this is, everybody needs that son or that grandkid who is well versed that can come over and program the VCR, right?
True.
And that's what we're doing for the people who don't have that already within their family organization.
Can I tell you a secret?
What's that?
I don't know how to turn on TV. I don't understand our remote controls.
Okay.
I don't. I'm technology,
TV on, input Apple TV. Use your remote on your phone.
I usually just sit there and talk to our parrot instead.
Well, it's probably more interesting than what's out there on TV.
Well, you come along and then turn on the TV, so I'm like, oh, hey, look, TV's on.
You rely on me for your coffee and your TV in the morning.
I don't complain.
No, you definitely don't.
Well, sometimes I'm frustrated, but yeah, I usually just leave the TV off.
Well, it's probably better for your brain anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little bit about what's going on in the community. We've got, one more thing. Kiwanis, our Marietta Kiwanis organization, which I am still a member. I'm a guest of the club right now. My application's still in processing, but I do want to give them all a huge shout out because they just celebrated their 95th birthday here serving Marietta.
Wow.
So 95 years and going strong. One of the oldest organizations here. Kiwanis is a great civic organization. As an organization, it's 110 years old.
Wow.
And fun fact is Marietta's was founded during the Spanish flu in the early 1900s. And, there was a lot, it was the recession, it was the Depression, the Great Depression. And a bunch of local business owners got together, those founding charter members, to sponsor a wing in the hospital at the time for Spanish flu treatment.
Wow.
So very, very cool to learn a little local history around that and kind of what they're doing. And they're continuing to still serve our Marietta community.
That's what we called Old Marietta.
Yeah, that is Old Marietta. These are a lot of
founders.
A lot of the founders, yeah. Names that you still see on streets around here.
Good for them.
Definitely. So that's a little bit about what's going on in the community. So huge shout out to them. Happy birthday to Kiwanis. Good stuff happening at our church, and some holidays to celebrate. So let's talk a little bit about real estate, because we are now in March, the last month in the first quarter. Can you believe it? We're 2/3 of the way through the first quarter of the year. And real estate is starting to enter the selling season. So we got the preliminary numbers for February coming up, and we'll kind of cover the FMLS area along with Fulton County, Cherokee County, and Cobb County. And if you need detailed numbers, you can head over to selectrealty.com because we are slowly releasing all of Cobb County's data from January, because that's finalized, in breakdowns by zip code. So you can follow selectrealty.com over the next few weeks. You'll see all of the counties broken down by January performance, and we'll do that again when February's numbers are finalized. So median sales point for FMLS, the whole area is $395 right now. Now this is unchanged year over year. So January last year, February last year, February this year, no change in price, which means that prices have gone down because inflation has still gone up. So a little bit more affordable for real estate this year, coupled with what Rob just told us. Fantastic news on the interest rates. Cobb County, however, up 3.4% to $429,000 for the median sales price. Cherokee County down 1.5% to $460,000. Fulton County down 1.8% to $443,000. So what this means, price growth has cooled off. All right, this is signaling a potential stabilization in the market. The minor declines in Cherokee and Fulton suggest sellers in those areas may need to adjust pricing expectations. We're also seeing that a lot of homes coming on the market are newer construction, so some of these neighborhoods haven't stabilized yet. Resales competing with homes still going up in the community are a challenge for some sellers, which we've talked about on past episodes and in some of the short videos on YouTube.
Compared with the zero interest rate days, with the Fed, and maybe 2.5-3% mortgage interest rate days, that increased. The sales price increased maybe 10%, 12%. It depended on the house.
We had one year where the market went up double digit. I want to say that the market as a whole went up about 11% in 2021.
Wow.
2022, the market went up about 8% because keep in mind, it was on track to do double digits before the interest rates went up. Mm-hmm. And that kind of slowed it. And then 23 was 8%, 24 was, I don't know that we have 24's official numbers yet, but it was relatively flat. So in the 80-year tracking of real estate, there's only been a few years that we've had negative growth in real estate. 1990 and 1991, the 5 years of the Great Recession, so 08 to 12, and then just I think just this year or last year maybe, but we're waiting on those numbers. Real estate, still a very stable investment. Just know that you've got to be in it for a little bit longer than a few years, right? If you buy and then have to sell right away, you are probably going to be looking at a little bit of a loss. So inventory. For our market, we've got a flood of new listings, but sales are still sluggish. So total homes available for all of FMLS territory is 23,305. This is up 47% year over year. The month supply of inventory, again, this is if we don't take on a new listing today, how long is it going to take us to sell all the homes? We're at a 4-month inventory. Okay, 4 months puts us in buyer market territory. This is not the same all over, but in some pockets you're going to have neighborhoods where it's a seller's market still, but generally speaking, we are now in a buyer's market.
And that means that more concessions are given by the seller to the buyer to attract them to purchase that house.
Exactly. So the surge in inventory at 47.1% is significant. But with both pending and closed sales dropping sharply, it's clear that homes aren't moving as quickly. Buyers have more options, sellers are going to face longer days on market, and increased competition. So with month of supply reaching 4 months, we're seeing that shift away from the extreme seller's market. Like Céline mentioned, plan on having more concessions, and it's going to cost you more to sell a house today than it would, 2.5 years ago. The demand is slower. Buyer activity, so we've got slower buyer activity, more negotiation power. So our pending sales right now are down 27.7% across all of FMLS. Our closed sales are down 29.8% year over year across the FMLS area. Our median days on market are up 43.5% to 33 days, and our total cumulative days on market are up 46.9% to 47 days. So this means homes are sitting much longer than last year. Sales activity is slowing down significantly, and we have a rise in the cumulative days on the market that shows that buyers are taking their time. They're shopping around and they're negotiating more aggressively. So sellers who aren't pricing competitively today are going to struggle to attract some buyers.
You sound like a dark cloud.
I am just reading the data, babe. Like, now here's the thing. When is the best time to buy real estate? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. Why? Because you make money in 5 ways in real estate. You pay down the equity, you get market appreciation, you have your tax savings. There's all sorts of stuff that goes into real estate, so it's always a good time to buy as opposed to rent.
But we also have Simply List too, which it can really...
We can. So for those who are struggling, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we do have Simply List. It's a great option for those who may have bought recently and have to sell, don't have those margins built in where you can afford to pay that full commission to a full service agent. You can save some money by doing a little bit of the legwork yourself, and we help guide you through that. So we'll talk about that in a little bit because we got some announcements coming up there.
Yeah, not all is lost there. I mean,
no, definitely not.
You sound like a dark cloud, but there are ways to,
If I'm a buyer, I don't sound like a dark cloud. If I'm listening to this and I'm a buyer, I'm thinking, now is the time. I've been waiting. I want to own a home. I've waited. I'm waiting for the market to collapse. Now I've got good news that rates are trending down. Homes are staying on the market longer. Now is the time to go out, start shopping, and get in to a property that's been sitting for a little while before that spring rush of buyers come in.
Yeah.
Because once we get closer to the schools getting out, you're going to have more competition, more buyers in the market, and we might see that time on market reduce as the buyers come in.
Right.
So showings are declining. We're down 19% on showings per listing. We're down 11% on showings before it goes pending. So now it's taking 8 showings on average before a house goes under contract. But the homes out there are only getting 4.2 showings, which is why they're sitting. Fewer buyers touring homes, and it's taking more showings before a property goes under. We've got our market strengths are off. Our sellers are offering more discounts. So the median sales price as a percent of list price, so the original list price, is now 97.5%. So this is down 80 basis points off of last year. This might seem like a small drop, but sellers are starting to negotiate more than before, and that's the good news. So average homes are on average selling right now for 97.5% of their original list price.
So what happened during the zero interest days is that when it rapidly shifted from low interest rates to high interest rates, it took a good period of time for these sellers to adjust to this mentality of giving concessions to buyers. So you still might run into these sellers who are hanging on to a little bit of that thought too. Now, is it going to be as extreme as the zero interest rate days? No, but just because we're saying these things doesn't mean that these individuals will do that. Correct. Because they might not have come to the realization that this is the market now. And that's where a real estate professional can really help you in presenting this data and saying, hey, this is why we think it's worth this much, and represent you as a buyer. I think a lot of people have stopped seeing the value in a buyer's representation because of the Department of Justice and NAR ruling, and the whole which was really all about disclosure of commissions.
Yes,
it's extra paperwork for us, which isn't a problem.
No, because it means that the consumer, the buyer, now gets more transparency in their relationship, and I'm all for transparency. I think everybody needs to know what they're actually getting into.
Sure, but at the same time, buyers are getting mixed signals and saying, oh, well, I don't need to pay that commission. But think of the value that they come and bring to that table. Because of stats like this and your representation knowing this stuff, they can get a better deal for you and be worth that commission that you pay. Yeah. Just food for thought.
88% of all buyers had an agent in a transaction in 2024. 90% of all sellers had an agent in a transaction. So, and there were only 6% of all homes sold last year that were sold as a for sale by owner. So, out of all of, and those numbers might not add up, but think about 4% of real estate transactions are just going to be transferred intra-family. So you've got 4% never even go on the market. So we've got a lot of people who are still using an agent. The consumer surveys say, hey, we trust agents. The challenge that you have right now is if you want to have a good experience, you got to make sure you have a qualified agent, right? Because the median age or the median length of time in the industry is 5 years right now. And people who have been in this industry for only 5 years have never seen a market like this. They've only seen good times where you put a home up and it's sold in a day. So we're going to see a lot of people leaving the industry. The survey said that only 77% of agents see themselves still in the industry in 2 years. So, 30% right there, 23% of the agents buy. And then, there's just a lot of external forces. We saw income for real estate agents go down last year.
They're just not selling as much.
No, they're not.
The ones that this is their bread and butter and this is their life and they understand it like at the back of their hand, they're the good ones.
Exactly.
There is value there.
So now when it comes to the luxury and high-end market, Fulton County is standing out here. When you factor in the size of Fulton County and how many different areas there are, the average sales price here is $661,000. So that's up 11.3% right now. Cherokee County is up 1% to $526,000, and Cobb County is up 4.3% to $495,000. Now, again, this is average sales prices, so you're going to have different pockets, different neighborhoods, but we're seeing valuations still continue to rise, again, pointing to the fact that real estate is a less volatile investment than other avenues. So the luxury market in Fulton remains strong, double-digit appreciation. This suggests while the affordability challenges are affecting mid-tier buyers, high-end buyers are still active. So our key takeaways here: we've got more choices, we've got less competition, we've got better negotiating power. That's for buyers. For sellers, be realistic on price. If you're overpricing, you're going to be on the market for months. Prepare for longer selling timelines and make your home stand out. You're competing on three things here. Well, four. You have location, condition, quality of media in your marketing, and price. If you can't change the condition, then have great photos. If you have great photos and your house is in great condition and it's still not moving, it's price, because you can't change the location. And if you're a buyer out there looking, one of the best pieces of advice I've ever had is the 80-10-10 rule. So when you're looking for a house, if it's not new construction, 80% perfect, 10% you can change, 10% you can live with. That's about as close to perfect as you can get in a resale environment. So that's what's going on in the market. These are, again, preliminary numbers for February. We've got more data that'll be coming in. As it gets finalized, we'll then go through and put February's numbers out. But we're still in the process of getting January's out there for you right now to enjoy. And hopefully that's going to help you make some decent insights. And so, Céline, you mentioned Simply List earlier. We've got a few updates that we've done on that platform. Why don't you kind of talk about what we've been doing there?
Yeah, so real estate has really become a somewhat matchmaking. I don't know. Whenever I try to explain it, it's almost like a dating app. I've never used one before. I've been with you since you were 17 in high school.
Dating apps didn't exist back then.
No, I don't know which way to swipe or anything like that. I wouldn't know. But from my understanding, it's your profile photo, and that makes you acquire a date. Same thing with homes. It's like you're dating them, right? So all of these photos, all of this media and the tours, really are there to attract a buyer. And that has become increasingly important, to where before maybe you could take a couple of grainy photos, and we're talking about the 90s. We're not talking about any time in this decade. When digital cameras were very expensive, you can maybe take a couple and then put it up, and that was good enough. People would want to go to the property and see it in person. Nowadays, not so much. We have a lot of investors from California, New York, who are looking, and the first thing that they see is media. So you have to have high quality media, and sometimes a lot of it, because if you have a small bungalow versus a large 4,000 square foot home, Now our houses are not getting smaller, right? The 1950s homes are not the same size as the 2020s.
Oh gosh, no.
No.
You used to have a 1,300 square foot home, and that would be 5 people living in it. Now that's going to be like a 5,000 square foot home, or people are going to complain and be like, "Oh, I don't have enough space."
I think at one point, every kid had to have their own bedroom, right?
I think they're still having that. Our poor kids.
Well, no. I mean, the boys and girls are separated, but the girls have to share a room.
Yeah.
But all this media is really important to the consumer. So we have made it a policy after many years of holding out because we really wanted to use our photographer. But a lot of the times people come with their own photos. People are really creative. People have a specific vision as to what they want to, and how they want to present their home for sale.
Yeah.
So there used to be a limit on the number of photos that we offered.
Limited service, limited photos, right? You want more, go full service.
But no, I get it though. I understand the fact that these homes are to be dated. So we are unlimited photos now.
Ooh.
Yes, unlimited.
Are there any other flat fee services that are doing unlimited photos?
Not that I've heard of.
I haven't found any of them. This is something that is brand new to this industry. So Simply List operates as a transaction broker. It's a relatively new style of selling homes. It came about circa 2004 to 2006.
I believe we were setting everything up, and then we went full force in 2007, right before the recession.
And back then, it was us, and it was Duffy Real Estate, and those were the big ones. And actually, she had to go into a lawsuit because the MLS didn't want to allow her to put homeowners into the MLS directly and give them access without
representation. But she's no longer even offering this service.
No, but they cleared the way, and now we are the oldest, because she's not doing this type of service anymore. So we are the original flat fee brokerage in Georgia, which is nice because we've been around the longest. We have the oldest license number. We are headquartered here. And I love the fact that we have all of these companies based in Texas or Florida or California, and they're trying to offer their service here, but they're not listening. They don't know the market. They don't know our sellers. We talk to them every day. And the fact that we have now created unlimited photo advertisement, basically it's the MLS limits. Mm-hmm. So as many photos as our MLS will let us input, we let that happen. We've also expanded the characters in the public remarks. So what's that mean?
So do you know the history of this public remarks thing?
No.
Okay, so public remarks are come see this beautiful home on a cul-de-sac. That type of description that goes out to the public. This is not MLS exclusive. This isn't agent exclusive. It's to anybody consumer-wise. So that used to have a character limit, and the MLSs, they fiddled with it so much. It was really short, really long. They couldn't agree to what that was.
One MLS would be short, one would be long.
Yeah.
It would be, you can have different remarks in each.
There was a good period of time, maybe a couple of years, where we just gave up because it was just constantly moving from high to low, high to low. But whatever the limit is now, we also offer that limit. And it's not words. No one's going to read an essay on your home.
We have a 3,000 character limit, so you can...
For now, as long as it stays that way.
You can describe your home as much as you want. There's plenty of characters there. There's really... realtors don't read. So I'm sure the public doesn't either. They're looking at photos, shiny pictures, and then they'll start diving in and really reading once they find a home that they like to make sure that it's a good decision.
Well, same thing with books, right? You've got to hook the person to read the book in the first few chapters, or else they're not going to finish it.
Exactly.
Same concept.
So, Simply List, I've done a lot of work on the website over the last few weeks. So we have really redone the ordering process. We've made it a lot more streamlined. We've redone the sign-up process. So now once you pick a plan, you get to build your listing as you want it. If you want to advertise an open house, you can do that. You just set it up right with your order. Once your order comes in, it's going to automatically direct you to your listing agreement. And once the listing agreement is filled out and signed, it's going to automatically redirect you so that you can get into the property input form. We've added the ability to save your progress on that property input form. When you do, it gives you a link. So you save that link and you can go back to it. So if you start the process, you can then go back and finish it. And then what else did we do? We've got a lot more resources on the page as well. So we have some case studies about homes that we have successfully sold, how it worked. And yesterday we put up an article on how to use the commission forms. So if you're a seller doing a for sale by owner, the world has changed in commissions since August of last year. So we can kind of briefly go over this.
I think we should. It's a huge topic, and a lot of people don't understand exactly what happened, why it happened, and how it's being handled.
Well, NAR got into a lawsuit because beforehand, the way things used to work is, Céline, if you wanted to sell your house with me, full service, I'm going to charge you a percent. Doesn't matter what that percent is, 5, 6, 7%, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to charge you 1%. Okay. Then when that home's sold, when I sell that home, my broker earns that percentage. If there's another agent, so that agent comes and they're representing a buyer, I agree in the form when you sign up with me that I'm going to share a percentage of my percentage. Usually it's 50%. So whatever I'm charging, half is going to go to the buyer's agent if they bring a buyer and sell the house. Now, if they don't, I still get the full amount. Your price doesn't change as the seller. If the buyer comes and the buyer, say, has an agent who's willing to work for as low as, say, 2%. But your contract with me is for 7%, and I'm giving 3.5% to the buyer's agent. Well, that agent would have worked for 2%. They're getting paid 3.5%. That's a 1.5% savings that could have gone back to the seller, or that the buyer could have used in negotiation to try and reclaim a portion of that. This NAR settlement creates the transparency so that is known to all parties. So now, because if I was working with a buyer previously, that I would just sign them up and I would say, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to show you homes that, the commission is advertised on the MLS, so it doesn't matter what your contract says because the MLS agreement says I have to be paid the commission that's advertised. Now we can no longer advertise commissions on the MLS. So there's 2 ways in Simply List that we're handling commissions. You have the option when signing up to say, I'm not going to lock in a number, but I'm open to considering the compensation to a buyer's broker in their negotiations. So basically, I'm not saying that I won't pay a commission. I'm not saying how much I will pay. What I'm saying is I'm going to look at the terms that come in on the offer, and I'm going to factor in your request for a commission in those terms. Right? If you're giving me a full price offer with no concessions, yeah, I'm probably going to pay you your full commission. If you're offering me 10% less on the house, no, I'm not going to give you my full commission, right? So there's some wiggle room you can negotiate there and make sure the numbers make sense as the seller.
Make you a deal that you can't refuse.
Exactly. When it comes to the buyers now, if the buyer has signed up that agent to work for 2% and the seller says, well, I'm going to pay 3%, the buyer can hold that agent to only getting paid 2%. That 1% can go back into the deal. So that's just kind of the way things work now. The other option, so you can choose to negotiate it, or you can choose to offer a compensation directly to a buyer's agent. You can say, well, I'm going to do 2 or 2.5 or 3, and that's just it. I want to get it done. I don't want agents to worry about having to negotiate another thing. And in if you go to simplylistatlanta.com, the most recent article talks about this. It is the option 1 versus option 2, and then what happens after. Because if you agree to a percentage in your listing agreement, you actually don't negotiate that commission in your contract. You fill out a form, it's called a pre-showing commission agreement, and then any agent, before they show, you just send them a copy of it. And then when they are ready to make an offer, they submit their offer, and then they have their pre-showing commission agreement signed off. They're happy.
These are new forms that came about because of this ruling as well.
Exactly.
So if you haven't sold in a while, meaning in the past 6 months,
you wouldn't have known about these.
No, they're brand new.
Yes. So now there is the possibility, right? If you're a seller and you put on a commission, you say, well, I'm just going to offer this and do the pre-showing commission agreement. If that number is too low, then there is a chance that the agent will not accept it and will submit a broker compensation exhibit along with their offer. And that exhibit is a request for their commission. There are some things that you have to pay attention to when you're making a decision here. And again, none of this is advice. It's just practical stuff that you want to think through. Where is your home in a price point? Is your home in a price point where buyers are going to have extra cash to pay their agent out of pocket? Or are they probably going to be doing a down payment assistance plan? I mean, it's know your audience and know that, if you've got a $3 million home, there's a little bit more wiggle room to negotiate that percentage with the buyer's agent than, if you're listing a $125,000 house. So just some common sense things to think through. Again, none of this is advice. It's just the new procedures and how things are handled. So we did put an article together so that generally speaking, anybody can go there, understand what's happening and how it works. So you know a little bit more before you fill out that listing agreement. All right. We've got a few homes coming to the market soon. So, Simply List, we brought on 10 new listings in the past 2 weeks, give or take?
Something like that.
So we're seeing a real uptick in homes coming to the market. I've got a new listing. We're getting photos done on Thursday, and that's going to be in Holly Farm in Canton. So relatively new construction. We're going to have we just put the sign up for the listing down in East Point. We've got a listing coming up in Eagle Watch. We're waiting on the photos to come back for that. That'll be towards the end of this month. So lots happening. We've got I've got a listing that may be coming on the market this spring here in East Cobb. Just waiting for them to decide if they're going to relist it this spring or if they're going to push out a year. And so we've got plenty of listings coming up. If you're in the market for a home, please reach out to us. We'd love to work with you. By the way, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, share. It really helps us get this show out to everybody. Céline, anything else to add?
No, we've been busy. We have really been busy.
Yeah, we definitely have. The website has been the bane of my existence for the last 2 weeks. I think I didn't pull my nose out of my laptop yesterday except to eat twice.
Something like that. Yeah. But it's worth it.
It is. I mean, the customers that we've talked to over the last few weeks have really found confidence in the site that we've done.
Yeah, and surprisingly, one of my hottest properties right now is in Cohutta.
Really?
Cohutta, the Blue Ridge area, almost to the border. So Simply List is not just for the Atlanta area. We really do service all over the state. Yes, there are some smaller MLSs like Augusta MLS or Savannah MLS, but that doesn't mean that they aren't on Georgia MLS either, which services the entire state. So they signed up with us, and I have had nonstop requests to show this house in Cohutta. So you never know. Give it a try. You might save thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and we've sold homes in Savannah,
Columbus, Warner Robins.
Yeah, all over the place. Outside of the FMLS coverage, the only difference between us selling there and selling in the FMLS territory for Metro Atlanta is access to the super lock boxes. Outside of the FMLS territory, our lock boxes don't work with local agents. So you just got to use a combination box or figure out another way for people to get in without you there.
Yeah.
Other than that, we've had successful clients all around the state. All right. So next time coming up, we do not have a topic planned out because we do this live. So anticipate that we're going to listen to everything that's happening in the market, everything that's happening in the community, and
it'll be the first week after the tariffs take effect.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens then.
We will see.
Yeah.
I love watching the market. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in to Georgia Living. It's great being here in the studio with my lovely bride. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.